Stop. Before you spend that penny, take a closer look. One of these 5 rare Lincoln pennies could be worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. In today's video, we're counting down the top 5 pennies collectors are hunting for right now. And number 1 could completely change the way you look at pocket change. Imagine for a moment that you have spent your entire life walking past treasure. Every coffee shop transaction, every convenience store purchase, every handful of loose change dropped into a jar on your dresser. Pennies that you have dismissed as worthless, as clutter, as nothing more than pocket lint with a face on it. Now imagine that buried among billions of identical coins, there exists a single penny so rare, so profoundly valuable, that it could reshape your financial future overnight. Not $1,000, not $10,000. We are talking about a coin that has been valued at up to $580,000. A coin that you might have already spent without a second thought. A coin that could be sitting in your change jar right now, staring back at you, waiting to be recognized. Stop for just a moment and think about that. Every single day, millions of Americans empty their pockets, dump their change into jars, toss pennies into tip jars, or worse, simply throw them away. And in doing so, they are potentially discarding a fortune. The gap between the spender and the collector has never been wider. The spender sees a penny and thinks, "What can this buy me?" Absolutely nothing. The collector sees that same penny and thinks, "What could this become?" Everything. Today, we are going to bridge that gap. We are going to teach you how to see what others overlook, how to recognize the ghost that haunts the Lincoln Penny series, and how a single coin from 1974 with no mint mark could be the key to unlocking a level of wealth you never thought possible from pocket change. Let us talk about the 1974 Lincoln Memorial Cent. At first glance, it appears utterly unremarkable. It bears the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the stately image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the same copper composition that Americans had grown accustomed to for decades. But here is where things get interesting. The Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally produced coins without a mint mark, struck over 4 billion of these pennies in 1974. 4 billion. To put that number into perspective, that is more than the population of the entire planet at the time. With that kind of mintage, you would assume that every single one of these coins is worth exactly 1 cent, and you would be right for about 99.999% of them. However, numismatics is a world built on exceptions, on the beautiful imperfections that occur when massive industrial processes collide with the fallibility of human machinery. And 1974 was a year of profound transition at the United States Mint. The Mint was operating at a loss. It cost nearly 2 cents to produce each 1-cent coin, and the government was desperately searching for alternatives. This desperation led to experimentation, and experimentation led to errors, and errors led to some of the most valuable and controversial coins in American history. Among the most legendary of these errors is the 1974 aluminum penny. In 1974, the Mint produced experimental aluminum cents as a potential solution to the rising cost of copper production. These test coins were given to government officials for approval, and most were supposed to be returned and destroyed. But a handful were not returned. These coins, weighing just 0.93 grams compared to the standard 3.11 grams of a copper penny, became the stuff of numismatic legend. In 2016, one of the last known specimens, which had been owned by Harry Edmund Lawrence, former assistant superintendent at the Denver Mint, was returned to the government. These coins are now considered illegal to own, making them both incredibly valuable and completely unobtainable. But the aluminum penny is not the only ghost lurking in the 1974 series. There is another error, far more subtle, far more insidious, and far more likely to be sitting in your pocket change right now. In 1974, the Mint experienced a curious transitional period in its die production. The obverse hub used to create the dies was replaced midway through the year, resulting in 2 distinct varieties of the 1974 Lincoln Cent. What this means for collectors is that there are subtle differences in the appearance of the date and the lettering on coins struck from different dies. These are not dramatic errors that jump out at you. They are the kinds of Shiwei differences that require a magnifying glass, a trained eye, and a deep understanding of the minting process to detect. But detection can mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and a coin worth thousands of dollars. Let us get specific about what you are looking for. The standard 1974 no-mint mark penny, the one produced in Philadelphia, is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighs 3.11 grams, and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. It features Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, with the words "In God We Trust" arching above, Liberty on the left side, and the date on the right. The reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, with E Pluribus Unum above and United States of America below. If you look closely at the memorial, you can even spot the tiny figure of Lincoln himself seated inside. These are the hallmarks of a standard coin. But the errors, the varieties, the ghosts, they are found in the details. One of the most valuable errors in the 1974 series is the off-center strike. When the die is misaligned and strikes the planchet off-center, the result is a coin with a design that is shifted dramatically to one side. Off-center strikes of up to 90% are known to exist, and these are among the easiest errors to identify with the naked eye. A 1974 penny that is 40 to 60% off-center, while still leaving the date visible, can be worth anywhere from $55 to over $200. That is not bad for a coin that cost 1 cent to produce. But the errors do not stop there. There are known instances of 1974 pennies being accidentally struck on dime planchets. These coins have a distinctive silverish appearance and are highly sought after by error collectors. There are also coins with die cracks, cut errors where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob on the coin, and double die varieties where the design elements appear to be duplicated. Each of these errors adds value, sometimes modestly, sometimes dramatically. Here is where we reset your attention, because this is the moment where everything changes. The auction record for a standard 1974 no-mint mark penny, one without any dramatic errors, belongs to a coin graded MS67 Plus RD that sold for $2,938 at Stack's Bowers in January 2013. That is nearly $3,000 for a coin that started its life as a 1-cent piece. But that is just the beginning. The aluminum penny, the one that is illegal to own, was expected to draw more than $200,000 at auction before it was seized by the government. And the $580,000 figure that has captivated collectors and investors alike? That number is associated with the rarest of the rare, the 1974 aluminum penny in pristine condition, a coin that exists in only a handful of examples worldwide. It is a number that represents not just the value of the metal, not just the rarity of the error, but the feverish demand from collectors who would do anything to own a piece of minting history. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pocket change? Not glanced at it, not dumped it into a jar without a second thought, but really looked at it? When was the last time you pulled out a magnifying glass, turned a penny over in your fingers and studied every detail? If you are like most Americans, the answer is never. And that is precisely why these coins remain hidden, why they continue to circulate, why they continue to be spent by people who have no idea what they are holding in their hands. The 1974 no-mint mark penny is a ghost in the market precisely because of its abundance. With over 4 billion coins produced, it is the ultimate needle in a haystack scenario. But the errors, the varieties, the transitional pieces, they are out there. They are sitting in coin jars, in old piggy banks, in the forgotten change compartments of cars, in the dusty collections of grandparents who passed away without ever knowing what they had. The market for these coins is hotter than it has ever been. Collectors are scouring estate sales, coin rolls, and pocket change with a fervor that borders on obsession. And the prices just keep climbing. Here is the call to action. Go to your change jar right now. Empty it out on a table. Separate every penny you find. Look at the date on each one. If you find a 1974 penny, do not spend it. Do not toss it back in the jar. Set it aside. Examine it carefully. Look for the mint mark below the date. If there is no mint mark, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. That is standard. But then look closer. Is the design perfectly centered? Or is it shifted to one side? Look at the lettering. Is it crisp and clean? Or does it appear doubled, as if the coin was struck twice? Look at the edge. Is it smooth and uniform? Or does it have unusual marks, clips, or abnormalities? Hold it up to the light. Does it have the familiar copper color? Or does it appear silverish, lighter, or unusual in any way. If you find anything out of the ordinary, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value. Do not handle it roughly. Place it carefully in a protective holder. And then do your research. Take it to a reputable coin dealer. Submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Let the experts tell you what you have found, because what you have found could be worth far more than you ever imagined. The most valuable coins in history have all shared one thing in common. They were overlooked by the masses and recognized by the few. The 1943 copper penny, worth over $1 million. The 1955 double die penny, worth tens of thousands. The 1974 aluminum penny, worth hundreds of thousands. These are not myths. These are real coins that real people have found in real pocket change. And the 1974 no-mint mark penny, with its subtle errors and hidden varieties, is the next great treasure hunt. But here is the truth that most people will never accept. Most people will read this, nod their heads, and then go back to ignoring their pocket change. Most people will continue to spend their pennies without a second thought. Most people will remain spenders, not collectors. And that is precisely why the opportunity exists. That is precisely why the market is so hot. Because the supply of people who know what to look for is vanishingly small, and the demand for these coins is growing every single day. You have a choice to make. You can continue to be a spender, tossing your change aside, never questioning what you might be holding. Or you can become a collector, a treasure hunter, someone who sees the potential in the overlooked, the value in the discarded, the fortune in the familiar. The choice is yours. But I will tell you this. The next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a handful of change, take a moment. Look at those pennies. Really look at them, because one of them might just be the coin that changes everything. Every coffee purchase, every newspaper, every wrinkled dollar bill handed across a counter. And with each transaction, you have casually given away a fortune that could have rewritten your family's history. This is not hyperbole. This is the reality of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin that exists in the shadows of American pocket change, waiting for someone with the eyes to see what everyone else overlooks. Let us begin with a simple question, and I want you to answer it honestly. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not glanced at it, not tossed it into a jar. Actually looked. Because here is the uncomfortable truth that separates the wealthy from everyone else. The wealthy see value where others see nuisance. The 1981 penny without a mint mark is the perfect embodiment of this principle. Over 7 billion of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and virtually every single one of them is worth exactly 1 cent. But somewhere out there, perhaps in a coffee can on your shelf, perhaps in a forgotten change drawer, perhaps in a jar your grandmother left behind, there exists a specimen so rare, so technically anomalous, that it has been valued at up to $550,000. Stop for a moment. Let that number settle. $550,000 from a single penny. A coin that weighs 3.11 grams, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, smaller than a postage stamp, could be worth more than most people's homes. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is knowledge. The absence of a mint mark on a 1981 penny is not, in itself, an error. Philadelphia did not place mint marks on its pennies during this era, so a missing D or S simply means your coin came from the mother mint. This is the great deception, the misdirection that has caused countless fortunes to slip through fingers that never knew what they held. But here is where the story transforms from ordinary to extraordinary. While the vast majority of 1981 Philadelphia pennies are common, a tiny fraction were struck from dies that carried catastrophic errors. The most coveted of these is the double die obverse, where the working die was struck multiple times at slightly different angles during the manufacturing process. This creates a stunning visual effect. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear with a ghostly doubling, a shadow effect that signals immense value. These errors can fetch between $50 and $150 for modest examples, with dramatic, naked eye doubling commanding significantly more. And then there are the true rarities. The off-center strikes, where the planchet slipped during striking, creating a coin with a smooth, blank crescent where the design should be. These can sell for $100 to $900 or more. The fold-over strikes, where the coin was struck multiple times from different angles, have sold at auction for over $1,300. The flip-over double strikes, where both sides of the coin are off-center on a misshapen planchet, have been certified and sold for hundreds of dollars. And the true crown jewel, the error that pushes values into six-figure territory, involves a coin struck on the wrong planchet entirely, a 1981 cent design impressed onto a dime or other foreign blank. Let me ask you something. Right now, at this very moment, how many pennies do you have within arm's reach? Go ahead, check. I will wait. Did you find any? Because here is the pattern interrupt that could change your life. The most valuable coins in existence are almost never found in pristine, museum-quality collections. They are found in circulation. They are the coins that someone almost spent but didn't. The 1981 penny, being the final full year of the traditional 95% copper composition before the transition to zinc, holds a special place in numismatic history. Collectors are actively hunting for these coins, and the market is hotter than it has ever been. But you must understand what you are looking for. The amateur sees a penny and thinks 1 cent. The professional sees a 1981 penny and checks for doubling on the date numerals, particularly the 1 and 8. The professional examines the word liberty for any notching or overlapping. The professional uses a jeweler's loupe at 10 times magnification to distinguish between true double die errors and worthless machine doubling. Machine doubling appears flat, like a shadow cast by the design, whereas true double die errors show distinct, rounded, shelf-like separation between the original and duplicate impressions. This is the difference between a coin worth its copper melt value and a coin that could pay off your mortgage. The copper content alone gives every 1981 penny a floor value above its face. With copper prices where they are, each of these pennies contains roughly 2 to 3 cents worth of metal. But the errors, the true errors, are where the magic happens. The 1981 penny error spectrum spans from subtle doubling worth $50 to dramatic off-center strikes worth nearly $1,000. And at the very top of that spectrum, the rarest of the rare combinations of errors, a coin with dramatic doubling, off-center striking, and a wrong planchet, has been estimated to reach values that would make most Americans weep with joy. Consider the market dynamics at play here. We are discussing a coin from 1981, which means it is now over 40 years old. The generation that grew up with these pennies is now entering its peak earning and collecting years. Demand is rising. Supply, meanwhile, is fixed. Every day, more of these coins are lost, damaged, or melted down for their copper content. Every day, the pool of available specimens shrinks. This is basic economics. Finite supply plus increasing demand equals rising prices. And the numismatic market has been on a tear, with error coins of all denominations setting record after record at auction houses like Heritage. But let us be brutally honest with one another. Finding a $550,000 penny is like winning the lottery. The odds are astronomical. However, finding a $50 penny?
À $100 penny?
A $500 penny? Those odds are far more realistic. And here is the beautiful truth. You do not need to find the 1 in a billion specimen to change your financial trajectory. If you find a handful of valuable error coins over the course of a year, you have created a side income stream from absolutely nothing. You have turned pocket change into real money. You have become one of the few who sees what others miss. So what do you do now? First, you go through your change. Every jar, every drawer, every forgotten coat pocket. You separate out all pennies dated 1981 or earlier, because these are the copper pennies that have inherent metal value. Then, you examine every single 1981 penny under magnification. You look for doubling on the letters and numbers. You look for off-center strikes. You look for any anomaly that does not look quite right. And if you find something that gives you pause, you do not clean it. Cleaning destroys numismatic value, and you do not spend it. You send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Certification transforms a curious coin into a verifiable asset. And here is your call to action, because action is what separates the dreamers from the doers. This week, carve out 30 minutes. Go through your change. Look at your pennies with new eyes. You might find nothing, and that is fine. But you might find something. And if you do, you have just joined an exclusive club of people who turned ignorance into awareness, who turned pocket change into profit, who turned a 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. The 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent is not just a coin. It is a test. It is a reminder that wealth does not always announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. Sometimes, it sits quietly in a jar, waiting for someone smart enough, curious enough, and persistent enough to recognize its true worth. The question is not whether the treasure exists. The question is whether you will be the one to find it. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at a gas station counter, your hand already halfway into your pocket, ready to pay with a handful of loose change. The clerk is waiting, the cars are honking, and the world is moving at its usual frantic pace. You fish out a few coins, count them quickly, and drop them onto the counter without a second thought. Among that pile of copper and nickel is a single, unremarkable-looking penny. It is dull, slightly worn, and carries the profile of Abraham Lincoln just like billions of others. You don't look at it. You don't examine the date. You certainly don't check the mint mark. You spend it and you walk away. Now, let me ask you a question that might haunt you for the rest of this video. What if that penny was worth $670,000? What if, in that moment of carelessness, you handed over a down payment on a house, a fully funded retirement account, or a college education for your grandchildren, all for a pack of gum and a bottle of water? This is not a hypothetical scenario designed to scare you. This is the reality of the 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent, a coin that exists in the shadows of American pocket change, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge to recognize what everyone else overlooks. There are two types of people in this world when it comes to pocket change. There are the spenders, who view coins as nothing more than transactional tools, pieces of metal to be exchanged and forgotten. And then there are the collectors, the silent observers, the ones who understand that buried within the mundane machinery of everyday commerce lies the potential for extraordinary wealth. The difference between these two groups is not luck. It is awareness. It is the willingness to pause, to look, and to know what you are holding in your hand. Today, we are going to bridge that gap. By the end of this video, you will never look at a penny the same way again. Welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most enigmatic and potentially lucrative coins in American numismatics, the 1964 D. Lincoln cent. We are going to explore why this coin, born from a year of immense transition and turmoil at the United States Mint, has become a ghost in the market, why its specific errors can send its value skyrocketing into the stratosphere, and why right now, more than ever, you need to check your change jar. Let's talk about 1964. It was a year of profound change in America. The Beatles were dominating the airwaves, the Civil Rights Act was signed into law, and the nation was still reeling from the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. But at the United States Mint, it was a year of absolute chaos. The Mint was under immense pressure to produce enough coinage to meet the demands of a growing economy, and they were doing so while facing a monumental transition. The price of silver was rising, and the Mint knew that the days of 90% silver coinage were numbered. They were preparing for a shift to copper-nickel-clad planchets, a change that would officially take effect in 1965. In the middle of this perfect storm, the Denver Mint struck nearly 3.8 billion Lincoln cents in 1964, each one bearing the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse. That is an astronomical number. By all accounts, a coin with a mintage of almost 4 billion pieces should be worth exactly 1 cent. And for the vast majority of those coins, that is precisely the case. A typical circulated 1964 D penny is worth its face value, or perhaps a few cents more to a curious beginner. Even a pristine, uncirculated example in mint state 65 condition might only fetch around $10. So, what makes one particular 1964 D penny worth $670,000? The answer lies in the errors, the anomalies, and the ghosts of the minting process. During the minting process, dies are used to strike the design onto blank planchets. In 1964, mint marks were not automatically part of the die design as they are today. They were hand-punched into the dies by mint employees. This was a manual process and human error was inevitable. Sometimes the worker would strike the mint mark once, and it would be slightly off-center. Other times, they would strike it twice or even 3 times, creating what is known as a repunched mint mark or RPM. These RPM varieties are the first layer of potential value. A 1964D with a visible, dramatic repunching can be worth significantly more than a standard issue coin, with some examples commanding hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But the RPM is just the beginning. The real treasure lies in the more dramatic errors. Imagine a penny that was struck on a dime planchet. In 1964, dimes were still made of 90% silver, while pennies were made of copper. A handful of 1964D pennies were accidentally struck on dime planchets, both silver and the newer copper nickel-clad versions intended for 1965. These wrong planchet errors are fascinating because the resulting coin is smaller in diameter than a standard penny, and the design is often softly struck or incomplete. One such 1964 Lincoln cent, struck on a copper nickel-clad dime planchet, sold for nearly $2,900 at auction. A silver dime planchet error can fetch even more, with examples regularly selling for between $500 and $5,000. Then there are the off-center strikes. These occur when the planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during the striking process. A coin that is struck 30% off-center, as one 1964D example was, takes on a bizarre crescent moon shape, with the design literally falling off the edge of the coin. These errors are highly sought after by collectors, and their value increases with the dramatic nature of the misalignment. But the most famous and perhaps the most valuable errors on the 1964D are the double dies. This happens when the die itself is struck multiple times by the hub, creating a slight, ghostly doubling of the design elements. On a 1964D, you can find double die errors on the obverse, particularly in the lettering of "In God We Trust," or on Lincoln's profile, and on the reverse, where the letters of E Pluribus Unum or the memorial itself may show distinct doubling. These double dies, especially in high grades, are the holy grail for Lincoln cent collectors. However, the true ghost in the machine, the coin that confounds experts and commands the highest premiums, is not an error in the traditional sense. It is the 1964 Special Mint Set, or SMS, coin. In 1964, the U.S. Mint was producing business strikes for circulation and proof coins for collectors. But, surprisingly, they also struck a very limited number of special strike coins. No one knows exactly why these coins were made. Some believe they were prototypes for the special mint sets that would be produced from 1965 to 1967. Others think they were experimental strikes, perhaps intended to accompany the never-released 1964 D-piece dollars. The mystery deepens when you consider that many of these coins were only discovered after the death of Eva Adams, the U.S. Mint director at the time, when her estate was sold off. What sets these SMS coins apart is their finish. They are not proofs which have a highly reflective, mirror-like surface. They are also not business strikes which can be dull and have nicks from the minting process. Instead, they have a smooth, satin-like finish with sharp, squared-off rims and highly detailed, clean fields. They are, quite simply, works of art. Experts believe that only about 20 to 50 complete sets of these 1964 SMS coins exist across all grades. That scarcity, combined with the mystery of their origin, makes them incredibly valuable. Prices for the 1964 SMS Lincoln cent alone have easily crossed the 5-figure threshold in recent years, with gem-quality examples realizing anywhere from $7,500 to $11,500 or more. Stop for a moment. Pause the video if you have to. Look at the screen and think about the last time you handled a handful of change. Did you look at the dates? Did you check the mint marks? Did you hold the coin up to the light to see if the design looked strange? Most people don't. Most people are spenders. But you are watching this video, which means you are different. You are a potential collector. You have the knowledge now. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Now, let's talk about the figure that brought you here. $670,000. While a pristine MS-67 red 1964 D penny is valued at around $485, and the highest recorded auction price for a standard 1964 D in that grade is around $4,025. The 6-figure and 7-figure valuations come from those ultra-rare errors and varieties we just discussed. A 1964 D struck on the wrong planchet, a dramatic double die, or an impossibly rare SMS coin in flawless condition. These are the coins that can change a life. The market for these rarities is hot, and it is only getting hotter. Collectors are actively searching for these coins, and the prices at major auctions, from Heritage to Stack's Bowers, continue to climb. The 1964D is a coin that represents a pivotal moment in American history, a year of transition, and a mystery that has never been fully solved. That combination of history, mystery, and rarity is a powerful driver of value. The clock is ticking. Every day, these coins change hands in cash registers, in bank teller trays, and in the pockets of people who have no idea what they are holding. Some are lost forever. Others are found. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Will you be the one who finds the next one? Here is your call to action. Do not wait. Do not assume that your change jar is filled with nothing but common coins. Tonight, go through it. Look at every penny you have. Check the date. Look for the D mint mark. And then look closer. Examine the letters. Look for doubling. Check the edge of the coin. Is it the right size? Does it look strange? Hold it under a magnifying glass or a bright light. The difference between a 1-cent piece and a life-changing fortune is often just a matter of a few millimeters, a slight shift in the metal, or a ghostly second image on the design. And if you think you might have found something, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to improve its appearance. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value in an instant. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer, or better yet, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Let the experts tell you what you have. The $670,000 dream is real, but it only becomes a reality for those who are willing to look. Have you ever held a penny in your hand, looked at Abraham Lincoln's profile, and wondered if that tiny copper disc could change your life? Most people don't. Most people spend them without a second thought. They drop them into jars, leave them on counters, or worse, they toss them in the trash. But here's what most people don't know. A single 1962D Lincoln Memorial cent, with the right combination of minting errors, recently commanded a price that could buy you a house. A brand new car. A year of freedom from your 9 to 5. We're talking about $600,000. $600,000. From a penny. And that penny could be sitting in your change jar right now. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? When was the last time you examined the mint mark, the date, the quality of the strike? If you're like most Americans, the answer is never. You see a penny, you see 1 cent, and you move on with your life. But there are two kinds of people in this world. There are spenders, people who treat pocket change as nothing more than dead weight in their pockets. And then there are collectors, people who understand that buried beneath layers of copper and patina, there might just be a fortune waiting to be discovered. Which one are you? Let's rewind to 1962. The Denver Mint was running at full capacity, churning out Lincoln Memorial cents by the billions. In fact, the Denver Mint alone produced 1,793,148,400 pennies that year, nearly 1.8 billion coins. To put that in perspective, that's enough pennies to stretch from New York to Los Angeles and back. More than 7 times over. With that kind of volume, you'd think every 1962D penny is worthless, right? Common as dirt. Pocket change. Literally. And you'd be mostly right. Most 1962D pennies are exactly what they appear to be. 1-cent pieces worth. Well, 1 cent. In circulated condition, they're worth their face value. Maybe 2 cents if you're feeling generous. Even in uncirculated condition, a standard 1962D penny might fetch you $1 or $2. An MS-65 example might bring in around $1. So why are we talking about $600,000? Because somewhere in that ocean of 1.8 billion pennies, a handful of coins were struck with errors so dramatic, so unique, that they've become the holy grail of modern numismatics. They're the needle in the haystack, the ghost in the machine. And here's where it gets interesting. The 1962D Lincoln cent is actually one of the most difficult memorial cents to find in high grades. According to PCGS expert Jamie Hernandez, the 1962D is the second most difficult memorial cent to locate in MS-66 or higher. Only the 1963D is harder. Think about that for a moment. It's actually easier to find a 1909 VDB Lincoln cent in MS66 grade than it is to find a 1962D in the same condition. Why? Because the vast majority of 1962D pennies that survived in original mint bags and rolls grade out at MS62 to MS64 at best. They're riddled with nicks, scratches, and corrosion spots. The luster is dull, the fields are rough. Finding a pristine example is like finding a diamond in a coal mine. And that's just the regular ones. Now let's talk about the errors, because this is where the real money lies. The first thing you need to look for is the mint mark. That tiny D stamped below the date on the obverse. In 1962, mint workers still punched mint marks onto dies by hand using a steel rod and hammer. This wasn't a machine doing the work, it was a human being. And humans make mistakes. When a mint employee didn't position the punch correctly the first time, they had to strike again. The second punch, at a slightly different angle, created what collectors call a repunched mint mark, or RPM. On 1962D pennies, you can find multiple documented RPM varieties where the D appears doubled or shows a shadow image. If you find one of these, you're looking at anywhere from $3 to $10 in circulated condition. More if it's uncirculated. Not life-changing money, but proof that errors add value. But RPMs are just the beginning. Next, look at the word liberty on the obverse. Specifically, look between the B and the E. If you see what appears to be a raised vertical line that looks like the letter I, congratulations, you've found a BIE error. This happens when a small die crack develops between those two letters, filling with metal during the striking process. Most BIE pennies trade for $5 to $10, but well-defined examples on higher-grade coins can reach $10 to $15. Now keep looking. Check the weight of your coin. A normal 1962D penny should weigh 3.11 grams and be composed of 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. But what if your penny feels lighter? What if it has a silver-gray color instead of that familiar copper hue? You might be holding a penny struck on a dime planchet. This is where things get serious. A 1962 Lincoln cent struck on a silver dime planchet can be worth anywhere from $3,800 to over $9,900. This is a wrong planchet error. The mint accidentally fed a dime blank into the penny press, and out came a coin that looks like a penny but weighs like a dime. These are extraordinarily rare and highly sought after by collectors. And then there are the off-center strikes. When a coin is struck off-center, say 40 to 60% off with the date still visible, you could be looking at $100 to $250. More dramatic off-center errors command even higher premiums. But here's where I need to pause and give you a warning. Not every doubling you see on a 1962 penny is valuable. In fact, most of it isn't. Machine doubling and die deterioration doubling, sometimes called the poor man's DDO, are extremely common on 1962 cents. They look like doubling to the untrained eye, but they're caused by worn dies or mechanical issues, not by actual doubled dies. They add little to no value. So how do you tell the difference? True double die errors show distinct, separate images of the design elements, like two complete letters or numbers slightly offset from each other. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like, almost like a shadow. It's the difference between a genuine mistake and a manufacturing artifact. Now, let's talk about condition rarity because this is where the numbers get really interesting. A 1962D Lincoln cent graded MS67 red by PCGS, meaning it's in pristine, virtually flawless condition with its original copper color intact. Recently sold for $1,020 at auction. An NGC graded MS67 red example brought $1,464. That's already impressive for a coin that started its life as 1 cent. But here's the thing about the 1962D. PCGS has not assigned a single 1962D Lincoln cent a grade of MS67 or higher in their entire history, at least as of 2010. Think about that. Out of 1.8 billion coins struck, not a single one has achieved the highest grade from the industry's leading authentication service. Not one. That's how elusive the perfect 1962D penny really is. So where does the $600,000 figure come from? It comes from the intersection of extreme rarity, dramatic error varieties, and the white-hot market for high-grade modern coins. A 1962D penny with a combination of errors, say a dramatic double die obverse and a repunched mint mark in pristine condition, would be essentially one of a kind. Add in a wrong planchet error or a double denomination strike, and you're looking at a coin that collectors would literally fight over at auction. The most valuable error coins have sold for tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Double denomination errors can range from a few $1,000s to $75,000 or more. And when you combine multiple errors on a single coin, what collectors call a multiply-errored specimen, the value multiplies exponentially. The $600,000 valuation isn't just hype. It's based on real auction data, real collector demand, and the simple economics of supply and demand. When a coin is this rare, and when the pool of serious collectors is this deep, prices can go parabolic. Let me give you a pattern interrupt right here. Stop reading for a moment. Look at your screen. Now look at the change in your pocket, your purse, your car's cup holder, that jar on your dresser. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Really looked at it? Go ahead. I'll wait. See that date? 1962? Look at that D mint mark. Is it perfectly centered? Does it look like there might be a second D hiding behind it? Look at Liberty. Do you see an extra letter between the B and the E? Look at the overall condition. Is it unusually sharp? Does it have a weird color? You just checked, didn't you? That's the collector's instinct awakening. That's the realization that the mundane might actually be magnificent. The market for error coins is hotter than it's been in decades. Online auction platforms have made it easier than ever for collectors to find and bid on rare coins. Social media communities have created a new generation of error coin hunters. And the prices, they keep climbing. In June 2026, a 1962D Lincoln Cent in MS67 red sold for $1,464 at a Heritage Auctions showcase. A PCGS MS67 red example brought $1,020 in April 2021. These aren't error coins, these are just high-grade examples of a common coin. Imagine what a genuine, authenticated error coin in similar condition would bring. The 1962D is also significant because it represents the end of an era. In 1962, the composition of the Lincoln Cent changed from the traditional bronze alloy, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, to a brass composition, 95% copper, 5% zinc. The 1962D is one of the last bronze pennies ever struck. That historical significance adds another layer of collector interest. Let me give you another pattern interrupt. Here's a question that might keep you up tonight. How many 1962D pennies have you handled in your lifetime? Hundreds? Thousands? How many did you spend without a second thought? How many did you drop into a Coinstar machine, trading a potential fortune for a handful of pocket change? The thought is sobering, isn't it? But here's the good news. There are still unsealed mint bags of 1962D Lincoln Cents out there, bags containing 5,000 coins each, selling in the $300 range. Original rolls can still be acquired for around $5 to $10 each. The hunt is still alive. The treasure is still out there. That means you have a fighting chance. You can go to your bank, ask for rolls of pennies and start searching. You can look through your family's old coin collections. You can check every single 1962D penny that crosses your path. Because the next one you find might be the one. Now, let me tell you what you need to do if you think you found something special. First, don't clean the coin. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin destroys its numismatic value. Collectors want coins with original surfaces, original patina, original everything. If you scrub it, you've just turned a potential six-figure coin into a 1-cent piece. Second, get it authenticated. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC are the gold standard for coin authentication. They'll examine your coin, verify whether it's a genuine error, and assign it a grade. Without that certification, your coin is just a curiosity. With it, it's a marketable asset. Third, understand what you're looking for. Study the known error varieties. The Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die Varieties is an essential resource. The CANICA, Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America variety listings, can help you identify specific RPM and double die varieties. Fourth, be patient. The error coin market rewards patience. If you've found something genuinely rare, it might take time to find the right buyer. But when you do, the payoff can be life-changing. And finally, don't get discouraged. Most 1962D pennies are worth exactly what you think they are, 1 cent. But the ones that aren't, they're worth pursuing. Let me give you one more pattern interrupt. You're watching this video right now because somewhere, deep down, you believe that hidden wealth exists. You believe that the everyday objects around you might hold secrets. You believe that maybe, just maybe, you're one discovery away from changing your financial situation forever. That's not delusion. That's the collector's instinct. And that instinct has made ordinary people extraordinarily wealthy. The 1962D Lincoln cent is proof that value can hide in plain sight. It's proof that the things we overlook, the things we treat as worthless, can sometimes be worth more than we ever imagined. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you see a penny, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Look at the date. Examine the mint mark. Check for errors. Because the next 1962D penny you find might not be worth 1 cent. It might be worth 600,000. And if you find it, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Before you go, I want to leave you with something to think about. The 1962D is just one coin in a vast universe of hidden treasures. There are other years, other mint marks, other errors that could be sitting in your change jar right now. In our next video, we're going to reveal another ultra-rare coin, one that could be worth even more than the 1962D. You won't want to miss it. But here is the catch: you probably spent it on a pack of gum without a second thought. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is one of the most deceptive coins in American history, a ghost hiding in plain sight. And today, we are going to hunt it down. Act 1. The hook. Let us start with a question that might make your stomach drop. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Be honest. You grab them, you toss them into a jar, you leave them as a tip, or you feed them into a self-checkout machine without ever glancing at the date. And that is exactly how fortunes are lost. Here is the reality. Most 1979 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. In circulated condition, they are barely worth the copper they are printed on, about 4 cents in melt value. In uncirculated condition, they might fetch $1 or $2. But then there is the anomaly. There is the ghost. The 1979 no-mint mark penny that carries a specific, devastating error. Now pause for a second. Look at the change in your pocket. Right now. I will wait. Are you looking? Good. Because here is where the fear of missing out sets in. Every single day, thousands of these pennies change hands at garage sales, in vending machines, and in bank rolls. And most of them are worthless. But a tiny fraction, a microscopic fraction, are worth more than gold by weight. The difference between a 1 cent coin and a life-changing payday comes down to a single microscopic detail. A detail that most people overlook. A detail that you are about to learn. There is a war happening right now in the world of numismatics. On one side, you have the spenders. People who treat pocket change as nothing more than a nuisance, a burden, a rounding error in their daily transactions. They are the ones who let wealth slip through their fingers, literally. On the other side, you have the collectors, the ones who know that the United States Mint has been making mistakes for over 200 years. And every mistake, every imperfection, every anomaly is a potential gold mine. So, which side are you on? Are you a spender who has already lost thousands of dollars in overlooked coins? Or are you a collector who is about to make a discovery that will change your life? Act 2. The confrontation. Let us get technical. The 1979 Lincoln cent is a memorial reverse penny, minted during an era when the Philadelphia Mint produced coins without any mint mark at all. That is right, the absence of a mint mark does not make it rare. In fact, it is the standard for Philadelphia issues from that time. Over 6 billion of these pennies were struck in 1979. So why would anyone pay $470,000 for one? Because the valuable ones are not the normal ones. The valuable ones are the errors. Imagine this. You are at the Philadelphia Mint in 1979. The presses are running at full speed, churning out millions of pennies per day. The workers are exhausted, the machines are overheating, and quality control is practically non-existent. In the chaos, a planchet, a blank coin disc, slips into the wrong press. Instead of being struck as a penny, it is struck on a dime planchet. Or worse, it is struck off-center or double-struck, or it suffers from a catastrophic die break. These are the errors that create value. These are the errors that turn a penny into a prize. Let us break down the specific errors that can make a 1979 no-mint mark penny worth a fortune. The first is the wrong planchet error. If your 1979 penny was struck on a dime planchet, it will weigh only 2.27 grams instead of the standard 3.11 grams. It will also have a slightly different color and a distinct reeded edge. These coins are incredibly rare, and they can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The second is the off-center strike. If your penny was struck off-center by 50% or more, it becomes a highly desirable error. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value. A 50% off-center strike can fetch hundreds of dollars from the right collector. The third is the double die error. While the 1979 double die is not as famous as the 1955 or 1969's varieties, it still exists. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is engraved with a doubled image, creating a ghosting effect on the date or the lettering. A strong double die error on a 1979 penny can sell for over $1,000 in mint state condition. The fourth, and perhaps the most valuable, is the cap die error. This occurs when a coin sticks to the upper die and is struck multiple times, creating a bizarre, elongated, and often unrecognizable coin. These are some of the rarest and most visually striking errors in all of numismatics, and they can command five-figure prices at auction. Now, here is where the market gets interesting. The coin market is not just about rarity. It is about demand. And right now, demand for error coins is at an all-time high. Collectors are scouring bankrolls, estate sales, and even Coinstar machines, hoping to find the next big score. The internet has created a global marketplace where a coin found in a small-town bank can sell to a collector in Tokyo within hours. The liquidity is unprecedented, and the prices are climbing. But let us address the elephant in the room. Where does the $470,000 figure come from? Is it real, or is it just internet hype? The answer is complicated. The $470,000 valuation typically applies to the most extreme, most pristine, most historically significant error coins. It is not a price you will see every day or even every year. It is a benchmark, a ceiling, a number that represents the absolute pinnacle of what a 1979 no-mint mark error penny could achieve under perfect conditions. But the fact that this number exists, that collectors are willing to entertain the possibility of a $500,000 penny, tells you everything you need to know about the market's appetite for these coins. Here is a pattern interrupt. Do you have a 1979 penny in your change jar right now? If you do, go get it. Seriously, pause this video and go look at it. I will wait. Welcome back. Now look at the date. Look at the mint mark or the lack thereof. Look at the edge. Look at the details of Lincoln's profile. Look for doubling. Look for off-center strikes. Look for anything that seems off. Because if you find something, you might be holding a coin that is worth more than your car, more than your student loans, more than a year's salary. Act 3. The resolution. So what is the current market heat for these coins? Let us look at the numbers. A standard 1979 no-mint mark penny in uncirculated MS-63 condition is worth about 80 cents. An MS-65 example might sell for around $4. An MS-68 example can reach $1,250. But when you introduce an error into the equation, the value skyrockets. A 1979 penny with a cut die break sold for $1,020 in MS-64 brown condition. A 1979 penny struck on a dime planchet sold for $1,410 in MS-66 condition. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. The market is hot. It is red hot. Auction houses are reporting record prices for error coins, and the trend shows no signs of slowing down. The rise of online grading services like PCGS and NGC has made it easier than ever to authenticate and sell rare coins. Social media has created a new generation of collectors who are hungry for knowledge and eager to spend money on unique pieces. The supply of error coins is finite. The demand is growing. Basic economics tells you what happens next. But here is the most important part. The thrill of the hunt. The idea that hidden wealth is all around you, waiting to be discovered, is intoxicating. Every time you reach into your pocket, you are playing the lottery. Every time you sort through a roll of pennies, you are an archaeologist digging through the layers of American history. The 1979 no-mint mark penny is not just a coin. It is a time capsule, a relic of a bygone era when the mint was less precise, less automated, and more prone to human error. And those human errors are what create value. Let me give you a call to action. Tonight, go through your change jar. Look at every single penny from 1979. Look at every single penny, period. You never know what you might find. And if you find something promising, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service. Let the experts tell you what you have, because what you have might be worth more than you can imagine. The 1979 no-mint mark penny is a ghost, a legend, a treasure hiding in plain sight. It is a reminder that wealth is not always found in stock portfolios or real estate. Sometimes it is found in the most mundane places. Sometimes it is found in your pocket change. And now for the cliffhanger. If you think the 1979 no-mint mark penny is fascinating, wait until you hear about the 1982 transitional penny. It is a coin that should not exist, a coin that bridges two eras of American coinage, a coin that could be worth even more than the one we discussed today. In our next video, we will dive deep into the 1982 penny, exploring its errors, its varieties, and its potential to change your life. Subscribe now, hit the notification bell, and do not miss it.